to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're listening to the very first Free Session Friday. And Free Session Friday is where I offer one of my listeners or someone that you know and you have recommended to a free session with me. And it's a 90-minute session that normal clients would have to pay a few £100 or a few $100 for. But being an applicant of Free Session Friday, you get it completely free. And earlier today, I posted the entire session that I did with a volunteer called James, who had certain anger issues. And if you want to watch the entire thing, including the hour before the hypnosis starts of how I figure out what to work on, check out that episode. This is just going to be the hypnosis part of it. So I will give you a summary of the issue of the client, but you won't actually hear the words from them. And if you want to actually see that, check out the other episode. This is just the hypnosis version of it. Now, the condensed version of this is that there is a client, and you're going to see me working with James very soon, who was triggered into feeling angry, particularly if he felt smothered or untrusted or things that were unfair. And it would go from frustration to passing a point of no return, where it would get to a high level of anger. And he would use the phrase losing the plot or losing control. And at that point, he would raise his voice and not be physically aggressive, but be emotionally aggressive, maybe say hurtful things or raise his voice. And it wasn't actually working. It wasn't actually making a resolution to any of these issues. It was just causing problems. But it came from a childhood where he saw parents, particularly a father, raising their voice as a form of dominance, and also older siblings. And there was an element that within childhood, actually having that element of sticking up for themselves meant they needed to be a bit more, let's say, aggressive or just intense. Otherwise, they'd get trampled all over. The core to this hypnosis session is to avoid the extremities. They didn't want to be a walkover and just accept whatever is going on, even if it's not fair, not right. They didn't want that. And also they didn't want the status quo, which is being triggered to feel very angry. And what this does is it provides a different alternative pathway, and that is to feel calm and composed, yet uncompromising, and also the ability to see the other person's perspective so that they can actually factor that in to increase the probability of finding a resolution where anger or rage isn't required. It uses a form of timeline therapy of going back to the past, so they see where did this thought pattern and this anger trigger come from. So they have that to begin with. They then see recent events that actually they did get angry and it didn't help in any way. It made things worse. And what that would have been like if they would have been calm and composed and a little bit uncompromising. So not a pushover, but not aggressive. And would that have improved things? And then there's an element of future pacing. So thinking of the kind of thing that might trigger anger, and do they now see it differently after the hypnotherapy? That's all going on. And again, if you want to see the full version of that, check the episode before this one, and you'll see it's about an hour and a half long episode, and you'll see me actually working with the client to figure out what we're going to do in the hypnosis session. This is just the short summary of it, so you can get straight to the hypnosis. But if you would like to be a volunteer for Free Session Friday, if you would like to be on the show and we work together and you're where you are, I'm where I am in my studio, and we do the therapy together, there will be a link in the description where you can apply to be a future guest on Free Session Friday. So if that appeals, then I would encourage you to fill out that application, especially if you've got a unique issue, something unusual, or perhaps even strange. We get to work on that. Or it's just really, really negatively affecting your life. If that's the case, certainly apply. Or maybe you know someone, in which case, rather than you apply, send the link to them so they can apply. And who knows, you might be seeing or hearing a friend or a family member that you know, and me working with them directly. There's no strings attached to this. There's genuinely no cost. There is only one condition, and that is, as you know, if you've seen my show before, you don't know who I work with, but the guests or the volunteers on Free Session Friday, they are waiving that anonymity. So, of course, people are going to see your face. They're not going to know your full name and where you're from, but they might know your first name and your face, and we're going to be working together on a particular issue. So if you're not comfortable with that, don't apply. But if you are comfortable with that, absolutely apply, because my plan is to do this for as long as I can, to do free sessions once a week for those that either really need it or it's just a really interesting area to work on. And the reason I'm doing all this is because a lot of people have messaged me and actually said, well, it's good that I listen to your sessions, but is there really a client kind of behind that I'm actually working with? There is, I'm just recording my voice, but you never actually get to see behind the curtain. And these free sessions enable you to eavesdrop and just observe on a real hypnosis session with a real client. And that's what you're about to see now. So find a nice, quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed or distracted. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow your eyelids to close. That's it. And as they close, just feel your body start to relax. Feel a sense of release. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling tension. Each breath enables you to drift deeper and deeper relaxed. That's it. In fact, the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you feel. And the more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. A wonderful cycle of ever-increasing relaxation. As your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to think back to a time when you were completely relaxed, calm, and confident. The kind of setting where nothing could faze you. That even if someone tried their very hardest to rile you, to push your buttons, they just couldn't. Maybe it was a time when you were in nature. A memory of a holiday. A time when you felt immune to provocation. And just connect with that place. Link back to that memory. Breathe the way you were breathing. That's it. And very soon I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. And I want you to imagine drifting off into a dream-like sleep. And in that dream, we're going to go back to memories of where you learned something useful then, not so useful now. 5, drifting off, eyelids getting heavier. 4, jaw starting to loosen. Shoulders and arms start to relax. That's it. 3. Feel your internal organs, your heart, your lungs, your stomach relaxing now. 2, legs, limp, loose, relaxed. And 1, down to your feet. And just imagine drifting off now, deeper and deeper relaxed. And in this dream, I want you to imagine a bubble that can float up and take you backwards and forwards in time. Imagine climbing into the bubble in this dream within a dream. And let's float back to a childhood memory. Not to relive it, just to observe it. Feel yourself in the bubble, seeing everything as it was. You are invisible to anyone in the memory. You can see them. They can't see you. And I want you to see a child. A child that learned that raising their voice, sticking up for themselves, was necessary or useful for that time in your life. Maybe there was a time when you were accused of something that you didn't do intentionally. Or maybe someone was just trying to push your buttons to see what you would tolerate and what you wouldn't. And just observe. I want you to see there was a time where raising your voice, where being more physical, more dominant, made sense. That a seed was planted from what you saw from those around you. A solution to the problem of fairness. But what if that was never the only option? It was simply one tool that worked in one context, but doesn't really work in others. A hammer might be good to nail wood together, but you wouldn't use a hammer to saw down a tree. And I want you to observe. Observe why you do what you do. You learnt it, you were rewarded by it. And in a particular context, it made sense. But I want you to float up from that bubble and visit a relationship with someone that mattered. Maybe a partner, maybe a child. And I want you to see, through that bubble, looking back at that memory, see yourself getting to that place where that switch is flipped, where you lose the plot, where you cross a line. And I want you to see memory after memory, of the damage, the pain, the frustration it causes. I want you to see the bridges you burned, the relationships that could never quite get back to how they were before. That when certain people saw a side of you they'd never seen before, things were never quite the same again. Allow this bubble to reveal these memories to you. Maybe it's linked to regret, pain, sorrow or sadness, or something else. Allow yourself to feel whatever you feel. No judgment, just an observer. Real memories, real moments. And I want you to see a childlike quality in those versions of you. The same quality you saw in you as a child. See that same pattern being played. And I want you to get a sense that knowing what you now know, if you could do something different, more useful, if your unconscious wants to change one tool for another, one option for another, let me know by nodding your head. But before we leave these memories, I don't want you to just see a child in an adult's body. I want you to see a bully, someone using the loudness of their voice, someone using their physical size to dominate, to utilize those unfair power dynamics. And I wonder if you can reach a point where it feels like enough is enough. You don't want that anymore. And if you can reach that place, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And let's rewind these memories, or maybe just one. And I want you to see a version of you with a different option. I want you to see that losing the plot is no different from losing control. And when you lose control, you lose your influence too. So as you rewind that memory, I want you to visit a time in your life where you were at your most calm, composed, and yet uncompromising. And maybe it wasn't personal, maybe it was work related. You weren't happy with something. Something was unfair. You didn't just tolerate it, you spoke up. You communicated. You made it crystal clear why you felt the way that you felt. And maybe you even tried to understand the different perspective. But I want you to find a memory where you communicated your concerns, the unfairness, the injustice, in a cool, calm, composed, yet uncompromising way. And when you can find something like that, Let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And I want you to float into that memory. Feel how you were breathing when you said what needed to be said. Composed, calm, confident and clearly. You were no walkover, and yet you did not raise your voice. You did not lose control. In fact, you felt more in control. You were deliberate, intentional, and I want you to feel how good this feeling feels. I want you to take that feeling, return to the bubble, and see how you look, your mannerisms, your facial expression, your body language, when you are cool, calm, composed, and yet uncompromising. And I want you to take just one of those memories and see that version of you, handling it in a different way, because that was the state you were in. I want you to see that nothing can rile you. You become very aware. Maybe there's a double standard, hypocrisy. Maybe there's a feeling that you're being unfairly treated or confined. But see the way that you're handling it. Calm, composed, uncompromising, and yet deeply understanding. This version of you seeks to understand before you become understood. A real desire to see it from their perspective. And if that's valid, you acknowledge it. And if there is no perspective, then you know they are being unreasonable. And then you have the power to act accordingly, and still with no need for a raised voice or a loss of control. And I want you to imagine each of those memories of the past where you did lose the plot. Start to imagine this new version of you handling the same situation in this more measured, deliberate, calm way. Not a walkover, but not losing the very essence of who you are. No tantrums. And if you could imagine these memories where you're being more of that calm, composed, yet uncompromising version of you, let me know by nodding your head. And if by handling things that way, they lead to more of the very outcome that you were seeking, more fairness, more understanding, more connection, let me know by nodding your head. And just allow this thought, this resource to ripple through the past and the future. And I wonder if your unconscious is willing to make this your default. I want you to get a sense that there is many areas of your life that you would not raise your voice. You would not lose control, even if your buttons were pushed. Those neural pathways already exist. But how's it fair that the people that are closest to you, that care for you more, receive this out of control, version of you more than anyone else. The irony would be, the unfairness causes the anger, but the anger itself is unfair. And the more your brain updates an alternative option, a new choice, that you can still communicate your perspective. You can seek to resolve a feeling of unfairness or injustice without the need to lose your temper. The more that becomes the initial and in fact only way of handling those situations. And if anger starts to bubble up, I want you to think of two things that become compulsions. One, to take yourself out of that situation, to allow things to settle down. But there'll be a part of your brain that is looking for something silly, humorous, funny, to just have the very scaffolding of anger to come crashing down instantly. But the more you find that place of calm, composed, clear communication, and perhaps your language is slower and clearer than it even normally would be, I want you to observe how you look more in control, not less in control. More influential, not less influential. You look stronger, not weaker. The person that loses control and the person that is walked all over are both weak. Strength is in the middle. Clarity as to your needs and your boundaries, but zero tolerance to bully anyone else to secure it. If your unconscious is happy to accept these new suggestions as a way that gives you more of the life that you want and respects the people closest to you, let me know by nodding your head. And one final visit in that bubble is the future. I want you to imagine yourself a few weeks from now. I want you to see yourself having a conversation before one is necessary. You know those historical areas that can lead to conflict, and see yourself not in a demanding or agitated way, but a cool, calm, composed way, having a reasonable conversation about what's important to you and what's important to someone that matters to you. And I want you to see yourself with a whole new level of tenacity at seeking true understanding, really seeing it from their side. Not because you have to, not because you should, but because you want to. Because the more clearly you see things in the way that the people that matter most to you see things, the less the idea of fairness pops into your head, and it becomes more about reassuring genuine concerns based on all of the experiences that that individual experienced. your unconscious pattern was anger that came from seeing older siblings and a parent raise their voice. Therefore, isn't it only natural that other people have their own unconscious patterns triggered by what they experienced in their past? As you understand, things make sense. You feel less confined, more understanding, and you seek to build bridges, not burn them. You seek to include rather than exclude. If your unconscious can now take you to a moment that would have been a cause of anger, but instead is handled differently now, then visit that memory that is yet to happen and see things as they would be now, with these new beliefs, perceptions, and ways of resolving different points of view. That's it. And if this seems a much more effective way, useful way, powerful way of resolving things, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And then step into that future version of you. And I want you to see that even if they try to push your buttons, this new version of you feels like those buttons just don't work anymore. I want you to think of all the things that have triggered you in the past. A facial expression, a tonality, a mannerism, a closed door, anything at all. And see that when you feel this way, none of those things make you feel frustrated or angry. They make you curious and empathetic, seeking an even deeper level of understanding. Dial it up, make it the worst it could ever be. And if you feel that even under those circumstances, you would not lose the plot, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. Allow yourself back in that bubble and allow the bubble to float all the way back to that lovely memory. And then from that lovely memory, it's time to float back to the present, taking all of these changes with you. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake. Wide awake. Wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.